A man who tried to kidnap a bikini barista by pulling her out of the window of the stand late at night is out of jail and walking free. Let's talk about it in our segment, Unbelievable. 50 days in jail. Apparently, that's all you get if you try to kidnap someone from their place of employment in Washington state. Every single one of you will remember the video of this because it was so brazen. So this happened in Auburn. Guy named Matthew Darnell caught on video trying to pull out a bikini barista into his truck. I mean, like a moron. I don't know if he thought it wasn't going to be on video, but he had this big obvious tattoo. I don't remember what it said. It said something. What did it say? It was so obvious. And then his truck had these decals, and they caught the guy within days because people are like, oh, hey, I know exactly who that is. That's Matthew Darnell. So anyway, and this was a terrifying crime when it happened. And I will give every news outlet credit because they were wall to wall with that video. What did it say?
It says Chevrolet.
Chevrolet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not only is he dangerous, but he's also an idiot. So anyway, Matthew Darnell, this happened in January, just January of this past year. Well, he has already pled guilty through a plea deal, and he is back out, living 2 miles away from the bikini barista stand where this happened. Again, this is August, so in the matter of 8 months, he goes from crime to being completely done with the criminal justice system in terms of time behind bars. This is insane stuff. So this is the headline from Cairo 7. Advocacy group speaks out on 50-day jail sentence for Auburn man who tried to kidnap a barista. And remember, this isn't, not that it would make it any better, but this was a stranger. This barista didn't know him. It wasn't like some domestic disturbance. Again, I'm not saying that would be any better, but this was a stranger on stranger crime where he tried to kidnap her. And I want you to think about, to do what? What he would have done to her if he was able to get her in his vehicle. What his intentions were. Probably to kill her. Probably to rape her. That's really freaking crazy stuff. So anyway, 50-day sentence on a plea deal. So the King County Prosecutor's Office, I will give their spokesperson, Casey McNerney, is the best spokesperson working in any public office in the state right now. He's a former journalist, and every time there's one of these cases where he knows that there's going to be anger and frustration, he sends out proactively, before anybody even asks for it, he sends out an email with all the information on the case. So I'm going to give him credit for that. And I actually think he is correct in his interpretation of what they did here and why. But this speaks to the problems at the state level with our sentencing guidelines and the fact that we don't have, frankly, stiffer punishments for people who try to kidnap women at random. I will also note, before I dive into the details of why this plea deal came to be, that the victim in this case agreed to it. So I do think that is important, that she agreed that this was the best path forward given the circumstances. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't mean that I think this guy should be walking around Auburn right now, although I hope and pray that if you see him, you shame him. Yeah, I don't usually say stuff like that. But you see the guy with the Chevrolet tattoo? Call him a creepy pervert. So, okay, let's go back to this, all seriousness. So this is from the King County Prosecutor's Office. So they basically say that this has to do with offender scores. He didn't have a criminal history. So that factored into, him, he would have got kind of the low end of the range for the crime. Casey McNerney goes on to say if he were convicted at trial, that there would be no option for mandatory DOC supervision, and there would be no option for a standalone no contact order with the victim. So instead, he pled guilty to felony harassment, and then he agreed to some additional conditions, including 12 months of supervision with DOC. He is required to continue mental health treatment, and he cannot use drugs or alcohol. That would be a violation. You'd have to go back to court. And he has a lifetime civil protection order with the victim that will be in effect until 2123. So the prosecutor's office, in combination with the victim, was essentially weighing, okay, the difference of, if he had taken this plea versus if he had gone to trial wouldn't be that substantial. So if we avoid trial, we can tack on some of these extra things. Fine. But 1 to 3 months as the standard statewide range for someone who commits what the plea was, felony harassment, set by state lawmakers, that's insane. If you try to kidnap a stranger, again, your goal is what are the goals for kidnapping? Are there any other things you would kidnap someone for besides rape, murder, or maybe some sort of financial, if you're living in movie world, where you're going to hold them for ransom? This is an incredibly serious crime, and I just can't see somebody spending less than 5 years in prison for it, because you are such a profound danger to the community. So this one's on state lawmakers. And if we truly believe, I go back to the Wendy Traynor case that we talked about extensively on the show last week. Shot in the back of the head by her estranged boyfriend, an act of domestic violence committed with a firearm. And then you have this guy again. I want to name him again just so we know his name's out there in the community. Matthew Darnell. If you're a woman out there, do not date this man. I don't know, maybe he's married. Don't date him. Who tries to pull a woman out of the window at her work. And I just think of what is the message that we're sending to men who prey on women? Don't we care about that anymore? Don't we care about domestic violence anymore? It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's like that's why I don't want to hear any state lawmakers when October rolls around and it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I don't want to hear them say jack, unless they're doing everything in their power to make sure that women who are victimized, that survivors get the support they need and the justice that they deserve. And in fact, I feel an op-ed coming on in October. I'm going to send it to the Tacoma News Tribune as soon as Domestic Violence Awareness Month hits. 20 days before the sentencing for Wendy Traynor's killer. Oh, you guys care about domestic violence awareness? Oh, I didn't realize it, because you're about to give Wendy Traynor's killer, 7 years in jail. Letting this dude out 50 days later. Crazy. And he had to do more than 50 days because he was in jail awaiting all of this, but ridiculous.